Hey everybody, what's happening? I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. You know something? Uh, well, I said if there's Diddy news, we're going to do Diddy news. And this is Diddy news. He went to court today. A couple of things happened. One of which was they set out a court date. And as it turns out, Sean Combs will be going to court in the month of May. That means that, his trial is set for May. So I was a little off. I said that I thought it would be June, but the people that said we were looking at years, and I said, probably not. I don't think we're going to be seeing years on this. Alex Moore, good to see you. I didn't think we were going to be looking at years. And as it turns out, they're claiming May 5th. We're going to see some delays would be my prediction. And I had said voir dire, the process of where they start picking a jury will probably pop up in June. I'm still going to stick with that. I still believe that that's probably what we're going to see. Vixen, good to see you. Glad that you're here. The other thing that happened today is Sean got another shot at getting in front of a new judge, a appeals judge, to once again take a shot at getting out of pre-trial confinement. He'd like to go home. Can't say I blame him. Going home is a nice thing. Pat Kimball, how are you? Good to see you, Susie Q. Guess what? He ain't going home. The judge said ixnay on the nay, or however they say that. But you're not going home, plain and simple. He will be staying in jail till his trial. And then some. After the trial, he will get out of jail and go to prison. That's my prediction. And again, if you're just joining us, we had a 2-for-1 special today on good news in the Sean Combs all things Sean Diddy verse. Hey, Tampa B, man, good to see you. Darcy, what's happening? So the update goes like this. He did get his day in court for his third shot at getting out on bail. Once again, the judge said the same thing. You know what? You're a threat. You are a threat to anyone who might be trying to testify in this case. And there are going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be testifying. They're not going to risk that they can trust Mr. Combs. He will be sitting cool in his heels until he has to go to court. That is the second piece of news. He will be going to court in May the 5th. That's 217 days, I believe. Never works out that way. Honestly, never works out that way. Something will come up. Things will move. But as of this exact moment, that's what they're predicting. I live for now. Good to see you. And I'll tell you something, folks. I'll tell you something. This is the time where if he's really going to go bat crap crazy, it's going to start right about now. For real. I would imagine that he sold himself on the best case scenario, right? This is something that all people do when they're sitting there waiting for their fate. They sit in there and they go, you know what, man, maybe it won't be this bad. You know, maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe there's a shot that this team I just hired, man, this is the dream team. This is a team that can go in there and get me out on bond. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And this is going to be a fairly speedy trial. They've set it out for May. I know that there were a lot of people who really put it out. I don't think I heard anybody when the predictions were being made. I don't think anybody came in earlier than that. I remember saying June. I don't know that anybody came in earlier than June. Kathy Ann, good to see you. This is literally going to be hell on him. If they had him on the watch the last time, I would recommend that they put him on the watch again. I would recommend that they put him on a watch and they put him on a watch quickly because this, I would imagine, is really going to set in. Kevin Hawthorne, good to see you. Yeah, so it takes a that's funny. Well, folks, as I've said, when there's Diddy news, we're going to pop up and we're going to talk about Diddy news. As this develops, as this progresses through the court system, this gentleman is going to be struggling. It's a little late, Ronald. It's probably a little late to run. This man has got no place to go. He is going to be sitting in there cooling his heels until the court date. We're looking at the 5th. That is the what we have pulled off of the wire is that it is going to be on the 5th. Ain't going to be any running. The odds, if he were going to run, he probably should have done it before now. Unfortunately for Mr. Combs, that's not going to be an option. So he is going to be sitting there. Yeah. Hey, Joe D, good to see you. Am I doing okay? Yeah. I would say that, that more often than not, I would say I'm doing all right. It's been a rough couple of days, as most of you know. But tell you what, it's a little rougher right now for the diddler. This is going to be a very, very difficult time for him. And hey, Tony Suter, good to see you. We're going to see we're going to see an awful lot of news about his mental state, and I think that this is going to be really hard on him. Getting locked up for anybody, going from freedom, from having the ability to do whatever it is you want to do whenever you want to do it, going from that to having all of your freedom yanked away from you, right? It's tough on anybody. This guy isn't doing that. This guy was going from living like a pharaoh. He was living at the absolute top. What's the amount of jail time that he's looking at? Here's the deal, Joe D. He cannot get anywhere near Danny Masterson because Danny Masterson is on a state crime. And the P. Diddy, Sean Combs, is looking at a federal offense. The amount of time he's looking at is a lot of time. There are an awful lot of crimes that he's being charged with. And I'll tell you something, people, we're going to see superseding indictments. I guarantee you there's going to be an awful lot of more stuff coming out. Allegedly, there are people that are paying off large sums of money to keep their name out of these lawsuits, right? As you know, we covered it live. I was on with Joel from Surviving the Survivor. But there was a press conference where a gentleman named Buzz came out from Houston, Texas, to say that he was bringing 120 separate. This was not a class action. There were 120 separate clients that he pared down out of over 3,000 phone calls from people that called in on this. Allegedly, some of the big names who might be on involved in some of these lawsuits are already starting to pay out large sums of money to keep their name out of the press, which I kind of find funny, right? Because what in essence they'd be doing is getting them to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and that's great. But non-disclosure agreements don't cover crimes, right? So you could say you're not supposed to talk about anything that we did, this, and this. If there was a crime that takes place and the feds want to talk to them about it, that non-disclosure agreement is worth just about the paper it's printed on. It does not work like that. Ronald Frey says, bribe to settle out of court. Well, I mean, that's kind of how this goes. And a lot of times I believe that these things go away that way. Going to be a little tougher this time, right? It's going to be a little tougher that time because there is a large machine right now. In fact, hey, Joe Birdwell, this is the largest machine on earth as far as being prosecuted goes. He is going to get ground up in the gears of hell that is the justice system of the U.S. There is a bunch of assets at his enemy's disposal. They can send every FBI agent they want. They've got every lawyer you can think of. This man is he's in an awful lot of trouble, and they're going to be doing an awful lot of investigating on all of these cases. This is frightening. If you paid attention, right? Allegedly, all of the victims who were underage, right, that were coming out of this lawsuit in Texas, all of the people who are underage allegedly are all male. Looks as if this is a kind of a theme. Ashton Kutcher, Joe D is so you're wondering if Ashton Kutcher might be one of the people who's throwing some money out there to keep this quiet. I don't know anything about that, right? That I don't think is really out there in terms of being crazy as far as guesses go, because this is a name that keeps continuing to come up. Also, allegedly, he and his wife are having some trouble. Now, whether there's any truth to that, we don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of the crap that's going on is causing some marital problems and some relationship problems with some people. Surely you have heard the rumors about what happened with Jennifer Lopez and her husband, that perhaps, allegedly, he found out that there was going to be some stuff coming up in this trial that he may not have wanted to have to deal with. What's up, Joseph? Good to see you, man. Iron Rabbit, what's happening? West Coast Fancy Nancy's here. Good to see you. Love it. Crash Zoe, good to see you. Yeah, you know something? This would be way more interesting to watch than Heard and Depp, to be sure. That's a great comment. This would be a dream to watch. Sorry, it would. From geeking out on a true crime, or a court kind of a case, this would just be a dream, because there's going to be so many names in this thing. There's going to be a lot of big name people that really are going to wish that none of this is going to come to light, yet it is going to, right? So this would be fun. Our trouble is we're not going to see any of it. This is literally going to be like the old days of reporters running out and getting on the phones and calling up, and people standing out, waiting to go live as soon as they're done for the day so they can tell you what happened in the Diddy Combs trial. And he will continue to sit in jail, which is going to be an awful lot of fun. He's going to be enjoying cooling his heels. You know what? There can't be any hope to let a guy like this out. You understand that, right? In theory, this is all supposed to be, right? Hello, Melanie Rose, Orchard Park, New York. Much love to you too. In theory, this should be a level playing field, right? This should be a level playing field. And what I mean by that is, let's say Kathy Ann gets picked up, right, for a crime. She should have the same right of getting out as anybody else, right? This should be a level playing field. And if a guy can say, well, I'll put up $75 million in bail and I'll hire a private security firm and I'll have people signing it, obviously that's not something that anyone could do. In fact, this is probably something that very few people could do. Maybe Diddy. They set out a court date for this gentleman. He's going to be going to court in May. And again, I think that's pretty close to what I had guessed. Robbie Stark says, will we actually see names, or will it be like Epstein? Well, I'll tell you something. I'm a little bummed out that we're already hearing, allegedly, that these people are paying to keep their names out of the press. That's a bummer to me. And I hope it's a bummer to everybody. Because when that lawyer did his press conference, he said, oh, there will be names coming out. You are going to hear names. And I don't know if that was a power play. And if it was, I'll tip my hat, because I think it probably worked. But I want to hear the names, and I'm sure everybody else does. Now, if these non-disclosure agreements, they're not going to hold up in court if these people are going to get called in. But it does sound as if maybe they changed their tune a little. Yeah, it's so shocking how many high-profile celebs are now seeing their past catch up with them. It's one of those things. Katie did. I have not seen the paralegal that has come out to speak to the press yet. That I have not seen, but I would like to. It's we're going to see a lot of people do it. Yeah, send me that. I'd love to see it. Susie Q says, I'm not holding my breath on hearing names. I think the one thing that really makes this different, is that the tentacles, so to speak, are out so wide now. There are so many different people that have already been named in these suits. There are so many different companies. There are so many different entities. This is such a wide net that you'd have to start, right? Cutting the head off of this snake, I don't think would make this go away, right? I think there's a lot of people that get named in this, even if by some strange chance they were able to get old Sean to be Epsteined. I don't know that it would have the it wouldn't get the effect that they were hoping for. That lawyer was full of it and is getting a hell of a payday. And I'll tell you something, Susie Q ain't wrong, right? Not on the payday part. Not on the payday part. I think that we're going to hear names. I do. I think we're going to hear a lot of names. I don't think we're going to hear all of them. I don't think we're going to hear all of them, but we're going to hear some names. It would be damn near impossible not to. Jane Aldrich, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Thank you for hitting the like button. If you're just showing up, we got a court date that has been set out for the 5th of May, right? So this is not one of those things that, people guessed this was going to be years from now. And now that doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually going to show up. And that's going to be the day that the trial starts. In theory, that is the day that the trial starts. There's a really good chance that it'll get put out a little bit further, or there's this, or there's that. But, Susie Q, I hope I'm right too. I really do. I also think that this has been, so what Epstein did went on for a long time. However, what has been going on with this particular industry, right? We talked about this on a show that I did last night, but this has been going on since the 1900s. This has been going on since silent movies, right? The casting couch, or the tit for tat. You do this, I'm going to hook you up with a career, has been going on since the beginning of every single one of these industries. Right around the time they started recording somebody to put on a record, they were asking that person to do them a favor if they wanted to be put on that record, right? Films were the same way. It's not, you understand what I'm saying? It makes it different than Epstein. It really does. I mean, we're still scratching our friggin' head and trying to figure out what was going on with Epstein, aren't we? Honestly, are we not going, half of us think that, maybe this was an operation from a foreign government, right? That maybe this was an intelligence group that set this up just so that they could blackmail big name people who worked in governments, right? Or who were, at the top of industry. Sounds good, right? Makes a lot of sense. It sounds like something that could very well be. This is a lot different, I think. I mean, I understand why the similarities are there, because there's blackmail and there's all of that. But I think with this is a business model. This was for the purpose of making a lot more money. Okay? That's what this was about. This was about owning an artist, not in the way that other people own an artist. I mean, owning an artist, right? It would be great to have an artist that's just, you got somebody in your stable that has got, 4 number 1 hits, and it's a big deal. But what if you could call that person and say, you need to come by and do this right now, right, to me? Because I think that's what we're talking about. Would he have been arrested if he hadn't traveled to New York City? Absolutely, he would have. Absolutely, he would have. They would have. There's really no place that he could have gone that he wouldn't have been arrested, right? I mean, he could have fled to another country, but it's the fact that he came to New York City is not why he got arrested. But he knew for a long time that he was going to get arrested. It's just one of those things, It is. Hey, whine a little bit more. The Count of Saint Germain. Why, thank you. That's a kind thing to say, I think. Jane Aldrich says, for your information, Tommy, this has actually been happening since the 17th century with the development of theater companies. Yeah, I guess you could even take it back further than that, right? I mean, I guess that even in the days of Shakespearean theater, right? But there weren't women, but I guess everybody can still be, it's absolutely been going on forever. It's been absolutely been going on forever. This time, though, in the case of Epstein, there really was the head of the snake, right? Epstein seemed to be this guy that pulled all this together. Now, if you believe that, you probably believe a lot of other things that are a little shaky, right? Because it just doesn't seem to make sense. Nobody can figure out exactly where all the money came from, and very, very confusing. It's a little less confusing with Sean Combs. This guy, hey, Morton Thistle. Hey, Shelly, good to see you. Hey, it's Kristen Melinda. This guy built an empire, and he built it literally on the backs of the artists that were part of his record label. And he seems to have leveraged, allegedly, videotapes that were made of people in compromising positions. Very often, allegedly, these people had been drugged, which is why he was able to do the things that he was doing, right? Most people weren't going to say, oh, cool, let's go into a back room and with 9 other people. And he was plying people with drugs and alcohol for the purpose of lowering inhibitions to the point where he could get them to do things. Or if that didn't work, purely knocking them unconscious, right? And then doing things to them. Katie Did said, power trips from evil people since the beginning of time. You know what? If you have a microphone, go ahead and drop it. Right? Hard to argue that, isn't it? Hard to argue that. Still got people that will argue that that's consensual, right? That's after yesterday's show, man. I got emails from people that say, hey, if a person wants to trade this for that, where's the problem? The problem is, I'm not going to explain it again. I'm not going to explain it again. I feel stupid explaining it again. I really do. I feel like I got to be getting trolled. Right? People can't literally, people can't believe that in this day and age. They can't. It doesn't make any sense. It absolutely doesn't make any sense. But the good news is this guy ain't getting it. Traveling theater folk were not considered socially appropriate for proper society. Their employment often contingent upon their theater owners and troupe directors. Jane Aldrich, I love it. Jane Aldrich, are you a member of the International Thespian Society? Because it sounds a lot different. Hold on. Do I think this is going to be harder compared to what Masterson went through? That's a great question. That really is a great question. And I'll tell you something. It's going to be very, very different. Masterson was fighting the state of California. It was the state of California versus Danny Masterson. This is the United States of America at all, right? Going after Diddy and his entire organization, right? We haven't seen other people's names come up, but I promise you people that if they start talking RICO, which they've done, that's not something you charge one person with. This gives you the opportunity to charge a lot of people. And the more we hear about this and the more you think logically about this, this was a machine. A machine. Okay. He went into town and he hired male, right? Professional sex workers. Male professional sex workers. Where would you find one? Got any idea? I'm not being a wise ass. If you were to roll into a strange town, where would you find a male professional sex worker? Would you know where to start looking? I mean, that seems to me an odd thing. In some cases, as it turns out, allegedly, these were porn stars, right? But these things were friggin' production numbers, right? There was lighting. They had to bring in all of this stuff in order to put this on. For all intents and purposes, he was making porn films, right? These freak-offs were like making porn films, except the participants were allegedly drugged. And these could go on for days of filming this. I had a pretty wild youth, people. I really did. But, I mean, days of having sex while being filmed doesn't, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. If they want to trade, there isn't a problem. But just because they hang out with Diddy doesn't mean you're okay with being diddled. Correct. It's absolutely right. It's absolutely right. And you know something? Lori Hart says consent does not exist under threat or duress. I like it. I like it. Jane Aldrich, excellent. I'm a big fan. Will he be in solitary wherever he is, as he has to be a target? Joe D, they can only do that for so long, right? They can only do that for so long. And I'll tell you something else. Where okay, if you're in solitary, you're safe, right? Except right up here. Right? Except right up here. There are people that cannot do solitary. There are people for whom solitary confinement will twist their minds and do it fast, right? I'm not playing. This can twist a person's mind and quickly. The kind of people that don't do well in solitary confinement are the people that need to be listened to, right? They're the kind of people that really want people to listen to what they're saying. This has been a man who has barked orders to people, right? We've heard testimony that allegedly he would brag. You want to see me make this employee cry? Giggle about it, right? Watch. I'll make her cry. This was a sick bastard that just liked to flex all the power that he has managed to amass because of the amount of money that he had made. He was basically doing what David Lynch put in Twin Peaks for the guy running a brothel and drugs. You know what? I hope someone else in here is familiar with Twin Peaks, because that's an excellent. Honestly, the comparison there is good. Great question here. I saw an interview with a Diddy bodyguard who knew all the dirt. Isn't he implicating himself in these crimes? Now, I'll tell you something. There are a couple of different bodyguards of Sean Combs that are doing interviews. And I'll tell you, some of them, right? Some of them you just got to pay for, I could get them on the lifeboat. If I wanted to write a check for the right amount of money, I could have them come on here. And I think I understand. I mean, it sounds almost hypocritical because I'm getting paid to talk about this, right? But I didn't know the guy. I'm not selling almost testimony, right? I'm giving opinions based on things that we're reading. We're kind of calling all this together, and we're all working through this together as a team. I think it gets scary when someone who is a witness to something says, "Yeah, I'll tell the whole world about it at $2,000 a pop," or whatever the amount. I'm making that up, but whatever the dollar amount happens to be. You feel me? Now, I have heard one of the bodyguards. I'm not going to say which one, right? I'm not going to say which one, and you know why? Because you guys are nerds like I am, and you probably know exactly which one I'm talking about. But one bodyguard in particular described a couple of scenes that he was there for that arguably you not stopping might be a crime. Like if you were watching what was taking place and you're doing this number, there's something wrong with that. Something wrong with that. But you also got to believe this. The people that we're seeing doing these interviews, do you think they might have talked to the FBI? What are the odds that these guys have sat down for really long periods of time in really small rooms that have carpets on the floor and the wall? You know what I'm talking about? They've been sitting in those rooms doing an awful lot of talking. Hey, Matrix Rabbit. If you are drugged without your knowledge or with knowledge, you can't consent. I agree with you. And I'll tell you something right now. I've always been of the firm belief that even if you sit down with someone who says, "Hey, you know what? Let's go have a couple of drinks," but the person drinks, 25 drinks, maybe not a great time to initiate coitus, right? I think that when people get that looped, you have to start really wondering. You have to start really wondering. Maybe his mentors passed down their list means Venus has had a higher. You know something? That very well may be the case where the mentors came from. But however these people did what they did, it required a freaking team. There were people hiring the male performers. There were people hiring female performers. There were people that were making sure the cameras were there. There were people procuring the party favors, right? The chemicals. There were people who were making sure that there was a medical professional of some kind there ready to run some IV fluid into these people, allegedly, after they were doing this all night, right? Sounds to me like there's a crap load of people involved, right? There's got to be enough to go around, right? And that's real. Sorry. They're kind of low key proud of having you kept your words so clean. You know what? Yeah, I think that's legit. You can high five yourself on that. You got nothing to. You have every right. You have every right. So if you're just joining us, May will be the date. In theory, he's going to be going to court in May. He's going to get his day in court. It's going to start then. It's going to go on for a long time, people. I promise you, this isn't going to be something that they bang out in a few days. It's going to be a very long witness list. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of people. And by the way, I think, I predicted they were going to do voir dire. The process of picking a jury was going to start in June. I'll still stick with that. And there were people who were saying 2 years from now, right? This is going to be at least 2 years. I didn't see that at all. Never made any sense to me, the people that were predicting that. I don't see it. But it's absolutely going to be, they're claiming May. It'll get pushed out a little bit. But next summer, we're gonna start this process. And you know what, people? It is going to be a circus. I promise you, it is going to be a circus. This has got to be this is going to be the case of the century. What do I think will happen to the female manager? Amanda Lee, hold on a second. Amanda Lee, that may be the question of the day. What's going to happen to the female assistant? And by the way, if you deep dive this, who would you call the female assistant? Are you referring to KK? Because that's not the only person that was facilitating this. It kind of looks like that other woman, Ethiopia Haptamarian, allegedly was doing a whole lot of this as well, right? A whole lot of this. And then there was KK. There were a lot of women at one time or another in his little cell, right? And there would have to be. There always is. Like with the Ghislaine Maxwell, right? There always has to be a handler. There has to be that woman that can go, oh, you know what? You probably partied a little too hard, and you woke up this morning. You were into it last night. Boy, oh boy. I'm sorry that you're having a hard time, but you were really partying. I promise you that's you have to have that person. You have to have that person. And he's going to be cool in his heels. He is going to be cool in his heels. Jane Aldrich, you know what? Here's the thing. This is actually, honestly, this is really a solid answer. I'm not joking. And it's kind of the point that I was going to get at, right? This is probably how you would do something like this, right? Start checking with front desk staff. You would probably also hit things like adult bookstores, some gay bars. There are some places you can go, fetish bars, things where this kind of stuff. Do you think Diddy's doing that? Think Sean Combs is walking around downtown asking those questions? Probably not, right? My point is there's a lot of people involved in this, man. You don't put a freak off together with a couple of people. This is something that has gone on for a long time. Jody, Diddy's wife, did pass away. Kim Porter passed away at a young age. For the last couple of weeks, anyway, there's been a book that was sold on Amazon. It's no longer up there. That had been purportedly written by Kim Porter. Whether or not those were Kim Porter's words, I don't know. How we will ever know one way or the other, honestly. It was an entertaining read. I don't know if it was her stuff. It's one of the reasons that I haven't really run with all of the stuff in there. There's some really heavy stuff. But again, who knows? There's no way to tell. Clive Davis discovered Barry Manilow, who came out as gay in 2017. The public was not ready for anybody to come out as gay in the 1970s. You know what? I think there's something to that. I mean, there were people who got away with it, but there were very few. Like Liberace was very flamboyant, and people kind of assumed, I think. But you're right. It was a different time. Can we give a moment to Buzzing B and his wifey, though? I'm sorry if I missed who that is, but I'd be more than happy to give a moment to anyone. Yeah, what are they going to do with KK? They're going to offer her a deal, people. That's what they're going to do. They are going to offer her a deal. They're going to offer her a deal for a very short period of time. You know what? They may even offer her a sweetheart deal when there is no time. Ankle monitor, 5 years, whatever. But they're going to offer her a sweetheart deal to bury Diddy and maybe some other people, right? Maybe she's going to testify about, some of the higher ups with some of these companies. No telling, but I think that what you're probably going to be looking at is them cutting deals, and I think a lot of people are doing that. This is a phrase that I've brought up a bunch, and I'll continue to bring it up. They're going to be saying, "Would you rather be a defendant, or would you rather be a witness?" You can be a witness for America, or you can be a defendant against America. That's up to you. I would imagine the vast majority of them are going to want to become witnesses. Patrick says, my friend met Diddy back in 2001. He was a creeper. Someone picked my friend because she's a Barbie. Oh, there you go. Yeah, creepy. They did it with the cop that killed his wife. They reopened his third wife's case, and he is in jail. That cop's name is Drew Peterson. The woman who they exhumed, her name was Kathleen Salvio. She had allegedly, purportedly, she had died of she drowned right in a bathtub. However, that's not actually what happened. And when they exhumed the body, they came to the conclusion that she had been killed by her husband, Drew Peterson, and he was sentenced to go to prison. I think for about 30 years, right? And then when he got in prison, he tried to get the somebody to whack the prosecutor that had prosecuted him. Not such a banner of a plan for him. He ended up in a yard. Okay, one of those guys that I ran across over the course of the time that I was in jail. Baker's Rabbit says, no bail for Diddy. Aw, so sad. Yeah, well, you know what? You hate to see it. You really do. You hate to see somebody that's going to be stuck there. Ashton's ex-wife, Demi Moore, in her memoir, talks about Diddy, Danny Masterson, and threesomes with Ashton. I have no idea. I have not read that. That is fascinating if that's the case. I have not read that personally, people, but I will. I'd like to look into that. I really would. I would like to look into that. This is a good question. Do I think that Diddy had something to do with Jamie Foxx's mysterious illness? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll tell you what. A lot of other people do, right? There's a lot of people online that talk about it. A lot of people allege that when Jamie Foxx stopped wanting to hang out with Diddy, and he was no longer going to the parties and doing all that, bad stuff started to happen. It seems so bizarre to me, right? All of us. I think it's incredulous. You sit there going, "Come on!" Like he's out poisoning people because the people don't want to hang out with him anymore. This is ridiculous. Right? It sounds like something out of Julius Caesar, right? This can't be real. Can't be real. Can't be, right? Then you start looking at the amount of money we're talking about, right? Look at the liquor company he was working for, right? Some of these companies involved make more money than countries, right? We're talking about giant corporations, powerhouse, frightening stuff, man, for real. When you start getting up into that kind of cash, it's pretty crazy some of the stuff that people will do. Do I think that Jeffrey Epstein offed himself? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've done shows on this in the past. The story that we got on Epstein, ain't no way in hell that story was the truth. It wasn't. Everything they said, if you've never been to prison, you might be able to buy that line of crap. But if you've ever been to a federal prison, everything they said was BS. Everything. They suggested that two cops whose job it was to watch him, who were just, 20, 30 feet away from his cell, both of them fell asleep. If you could hear what it sounds like inside a shoe, right, a segregated housing unit, no, you're not falling asleep in there. A cop isn't. It would be like sleeping through John Philip Sousa's, just people yelling, banging on doors, screaming. It's just nonstop. However, suspension of disbelief. Both of them happened to fall asleep. And the camera that would be showing what's up, that camera happened to malfunction. There are 400 other cameras, right, around that entire place that would see anybody walking, going toward or away or anything. But they tell us one camera was out, two people fell asleep, and that's the end of it. They show us pictures of the inside of his cell when he was on the watch, the S watch, to keep somebody from hurting themselves, or even observation, right? Should have been in a cell that had a big piece of glass in the front of it. He was in a regular cell. It had a regular bunk bed in it. He also had enough linen in there to start a business, right? There were so many sheets and blankets, and it doesn't work like that. That doesn't happen, right? You don't get any of that. If you're on the watch, you don't even get clothing. It was all BS. Hold on one second. How old was Mila again when 15, I think? 14 or 15 or something along those lines. I know that she had to lie to get to work on that story. Here's the thing. I don't know how ironic this is. This is the kind of thing that wow. Yeah, something? Very often people get involved in this kind of stuff because it clears their conscience. For real. Like you look back at the things you've done in your life and you start going, oh my God, or you realize that, you know what, you kind of got a reputation. You kind of got a reputation of being a guy that hangs out with people that, there's a lot of smoke around that whole crew. Think about it. I mean, there's been stories circling around those guys forever, things they were doing to women. Maybe he just thought that would clean up his reputation, right? West Coast Fancy Nancy talking about the book we just referenced from Demi Moore. She says, I read it. I don't remember the Diddy thing, but I remember Ashton wanted 3 in the bed, and he also encouraged Demi to break her sobriety. He's a low-life asshat. I'll tell you what. Well said. Also, he showed up for a date, saw a what looked like a crime scene, and decided to not call the cops. He needed to call his agent first. Tells you everything you'll ever need to know about who that guy is, right? Don't want this to hurt my career, right? Yeah, she might be bleeding out or whatever, but this is my career. Oh, man, that's sick, man. It really is. It's sick. Here's the thing. I'm not sure, I don't necessarily want to bring this up, either, because but this happens to be one of those things that it is the P. Diddy's company, right? Didn't have a tremendous number of white folk working there. Now, we don't know the names that we're going to see come out in some of these other filings. We do know that Sir Lucian was named, right? He's a white cat that's definitely been named in a couple of these, and there's a few other high ups that, and we don't know the extent of the rest of them. But what we're seeing now is Diddy and his company, and he primarily that was a company that didn't have a lot of white folk working on it. Saw something today. Your birthday buddy left Scientology. I have not heard anything about my birthday buddy leaving Scientology. That really would be something, wouldn't it? Holy hell, that would really be something. For those who don't know, that would be little Tom Cruise. I'm not picking on the guy for his height. I really am not. When I say little, I was referring to, well, anyway, he's not a big man. But that's not, that's neither here nor there. But anyway. But that would be news. I'll tell you what. Yes, he had his own thing called Thorn, and he had to step down when the Danny Masterson thing happened. Yes, that's what we were referring to. He started that, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you do to clean up a person's reputation. Guys like him do not do that because they think they are smarter than everyone and will prevail. Susie Q, you're probably right. Yeah, see, that cell was nothing like a cell that I've seen on the watch. See, for anyone that has been in, right? For anyone that has been in, that cell was a standard cell that anybody in the joint would be in, right? Shaped like the state of Nevada, almost square, and then it cuts off at one side. It has to cut off for the pipe chase. That's where your sink and your toilet and everything that's built in there is going to be. But everything else, right? Just a square room. The bed, the fold out, the desk with the fold out chair. He was in just a standard cell. That would not have been the case if he was on the watch, not in any way, shape, or form. Good Lord, men, stop gluing hair to your head. It's probably a decent piece of advice. Russ Allen. Holy hell. There you are, Russ. Good to see you, man. How you been? Yes, Hollywood has always been a mecca of sex, money, and power. You know what? And that's all disgusting stuff, right? This is different. This is just, what we're talking about here now, really, really, this is systematically, this is somebody that is systematically drugging people, allegedly, and filming them as a way to control them then for the rest of their time on this planet, right? So that they can pay them less, so that they can exploit them more, so that they can make these people do whatever they want. And you know what? That's messed up. That's messed up. Laura Lee Smith sums it up, man. This is the trial of the century. Make no mistake. Every single day, we're going to be waiting to hear what names come out of that courtroom. And keep in mind, this is bad for the community. I would imagine that this is bad for, depending on which community. It's certainly not good for his. This is not good for the industry, really. I know where you've been, Russ. Russ stays in contact with me, man. He really does. Wow, Mo Peace, congrats. Lost 34 pounds. I love that. I love that. Good for you, Mo Peace. Honestly, you know what? That's one of those, huh? Nice. Love that. Participation trophy of the lifeboat. Love it. How much in-house flack do you think Diddy is getting? It's funny because where he's at, right? He's going to be in a unit where they're not walking around. Somebody asked this on one of the other videos. How much time does he get walking around with other guys? I don't think he's getting any of that. I think he's in a cell or he's out talking to his attorney. He's probably on a 23-1. If he's in the SHU, the segregated housing unit, the SHU, that's a 23-1, man. You're locked down 23 hours a day. You get out 1 hour a day to go out into a little dog run, looks like a kennel, so you can get a little sunshine. You don't have to do that, but you're offered that once a day. That's where we're at. That's what he'd be doing. Now, he's going to be getting out a lot because there's going to be a hell of a lot of lawyer visits. There are going to be an ungodly number of lawyer visits for a lot of reasons. He's really got a lot of evidence that he's going to have to kind of talk to, right? But this could, this could be interesting. I'm not sure, I'm not any good at this kind of stuff. I know that you hear that a lot. You know what? This planet needs cleaned up. What a cesspool of turds. You know something? This planet does need to be cleaned up. I don't know about Tom, and I don't know, but I definitely think he's different, man. I definitely think he is really, really different, and that's unfortunate, you know. But yeah, this is going to be cesspool of turds. Could be a great band name. Says Kristen Melinda. But that is well said. And unfortunately, the show we did yesterday talked about this, man. There needs to be a bonfire, right? There needs to be a bonfire, and they need to start from scratch. The ability for them to run what they've been doing for as long as they've been doing it. You know what I'm saying? For as long as they've been doing it systematically. Do I think the jury will be sequestered? They will have to be. I would be absolutely shocked, right? I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't, because of what a great job he has done already in reaching out and touching people who had a shot at being on the list of suspects. Yeah, there's an issue here for sure. Emmanuel Luby says, frightening connections, frightening similarities. Jim Jones, the fundamental LDS churches, Heaven's Gate, Cosby, Danny, and Diddy. What do they all have in common? Well, I would say there's a lot of things that they all have in common, right? Fanaticism, sure, certainly, but the desire to control people, right? All of this is about control. This isn't sexual. As much as people confuse that, because there's always elements to it that are sexual. This is about control. This is about domination, and it's about control. These industries need tanked 100 and reinvented with some morals. Yeah, there is no dumpster big enough for this fire. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Question, is it possible that any co-conspirators will be able to outmaneuver the legal system, justice based on their clout, so to speak? Britt P, I'd be shocked if there was not some of that happens. There's going to be some of that goes on, to be sure. But I think that the only shining spot in this is going to be that even those who may manage to duck and dodge this are going to walk away with their reputations completely destroyed. For instance, Ashton Kutcher. When's the last time, honestly, you've seen Ashton Kutcher's disappearing from society? He seems to be pulling away as much as possible, and so does everyone else that had anything to do with Diddy, right? And I think when this is all said and done, there's going to be a lot of shame to go around. There's going to be an awful lot of people whose reputations and careers are destroyed. And hopefully, I hate to say this because I've never really been the guy, but hopefully they're going to put some laws in place, right? So that there's an opportunity for people who do stuff like this to not get slapped on the wrist, right? This should be the kind of thing that shouldn't be that difficult. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be, right? If somebody comes in for an audition, the audition should be filmed, right? And I think that it's a problem if you're meeting with someone who auditioned for a film role later that night for dinner. I think that's a problem, right? Honestly, that's a problem. If we as a society can't keep our in our trousers, in the process of giving somebody a job within Hollywood, then maybe we need to figure out a way to make that possible, right? Maybe the smartest minds need to get together and say, what can we do to protect women, kids, men, right? If we're learning anything from what's going on in this Diddy case, people, there was an awful lot of SA going on, right? An awful lot of SA going on. However, it was going on to men and women. The one thing you can say about Diddy is, for him it was about control. Men, women, young, old. It was about control. Catalina said once Diddy lied about beating up Cassie and the film came out, there was no way to put the cat back in the bag. You know what? You're damn right. I said this too, man. What the conviction of which he said, I never put hands on her, ever, never beat her, and then the next day came out with that apology crap. I think that the world saw who he is, right? The world saw who he is. Mo Peace says, and I'll tell you what, this is a good one. She says, thanks, Kiwi Nan. Your openness on the last live encouraged me to post. First time. I love it. And you know what? Kiwi Nan, honest to God, when the last live was over, that really that put a lump in my throat. It really did. That was a beautiful moment. If you guys didn't see it, it was lovely. Yeah, sometimes someone will say something and I cannot put that up. Every once in a while someone will say something, and no disrespect at all, but what we're doing is we're accusing somebody of something. Unless there's a lot of smoke pointing in that direction, I probably am gonna, with all due respect, not highlight that one. See, this kind of looks. This is the kind of thing that it keeps happening again and again and again, right? It keeps happening again and again and again. Yeah, Russ, I'm all over a night yard this weekend, man. All over it. We have been doing it on Sunday, but I'd be good to go for Saturday or Sunday. But we will do one. I look forward to it. Did I see the breakdown on the behavior panel on his apology? I did. Tell me you don't love the behavior panel. You know what I mean? I know I probably shouldn't, advertise for other channels, but man, I love that channel. I really do. What a great channel. I really enjoy the hell out of watching that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Guaranteed this is going to be the defense. Guaranteed. The defense is going to be these were consenting adults. This was a lifestyle choice, and it may not be your lifestyle choice, but this is how they like to live, right? And there's nothing illegal with getting together and having sex and filming it and having a good time. Unfortunately, there is something illegal about that, right? There is. Especially if you're flying people in for the sake of this. This isn't just some consenting adults. These are people that you're providing drugs to for the sake of doing this. But that is absolutely going to be, that's going to be their defense. I agree with this, honestly. And you know what? It's probably easier for me to say that because I can't watch movies anymore. But I don't want to support Hollywood. I really don't. I don't want to support any of this, right? I don't want to support any of them. I don't want to see a dollar go to any of them. You understand? Sky Queen says 25 minor children, all males, from what they are alleging. Allegedly. Yes, we were talking about this. Busby, the lawyer from Houston, announced 2 days ago that many celebrities had already settled after his demand letters were sent out to keep their names out of the case. Yep. Britt P., you made a good decision. You're going to love Surviving the Survivor. It's a great channel. Really is. Very, very solid channel. There's a rumor I might be going on another channel tomorrow. I will let you guys know if that is the case. I really hope it is because I love going over there to work with Mr. Atwood. I think there's a chance I will be there tomorrow. Drugged consent isn't consent. Damn right. Everybody catch that? Drugs consent is not consent. And I'll tell you something else. And if this doesn't make sense to you, I'm sorry. But you could be dead sober. Walk into a room and someone says to you, I'll give you a record contract, but I'm going to do something to you in order for you to do it, right? You only have to do it twice or 3 times or whatever, but I'm going to want to do this to you sexually. You can't consent to that either. Maybe this is something too hard for some people to understand. But consent means there's nothing being held above your head. There's nothing being offered. There's nothing being threatened. And in this case, you're getting both. You let me do what I want to you, and I'm going to make you famous. You don't let me do what I want to you, I'm going to make you poor and make sure that nobody in this industry will ever talk to you again. That can't be consent, even if the person is sober. And if you can't figure that out, sorry, get that tack hammer I'm always talking about. Give yourself 3 or 4 good ones to the dome, because in all honesty, damn, right? In 2024, this shouldn't be that hard. Follow me? It shouldn't be. But that's not even where we're at, right? That's not even where we're at. Because where we're at was when these people came through the door, it was like the guys, okay, over there, get yourself a beer. And the women, yeah, get a roofie colada. We got roofie coladas set up over here. You can't drug people, right? And then say that that what took place was a lifestyle choice. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And bringing in professionals to abuse your girlfriend while you film it, that's not a lifestyle, right? It isn't. It's systematic abuse, right? And that was systematic abuse that was used for the purpose of control and blackmail. And you know what? This guy can't get enough time, in my humble opinion, right? He's innocent until proven guilty, correct? Allegedly. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to say that personally, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think this dude's guilty. That's just an opinion, right? But I think this dude's guilty. And I think that I'm really looking forward to seeing the sentence that this guy gets. We're very used to seeing leniency when it comes to stars, right? We're very used to seeing famous people catch breaks. The feds aren't too much impressed with how famous you are. In fact, I kind of believe that they get their rocks off more than giving out time more than not. And you know what? Sandra says Cassie wasn't a girlfriend; she was a hostage. I would say that she was probably a girlfriend for a couple of months, right? Maybe a year. Who knows? There was a period of time in the beginning where he was, he loved bombing her and giving her gifts. And think of the amount of love bombing a guy like that could do. Think about what you can do with an unlimited budget if you're trying to impress someone. And I would imagine that he seemed like the greatest thing that could have ever happened on planet Earth until he wasn't. And he absolutely, she was a slave and a captive. And if you don't see that, there's a video out there you can watch, right? That video isn't just what happened in the hallway, right? That video isn't just you watching him kick her, beat her, throw a vase at her. That was her trying to escape a freak off, right? What was taking place in that hotel room, she didn't want to be there performing anymore, right? She was trying to escape a freak off. And that's what happens when you try to escape from him. So I would say that's not a willing participant. And for those who can't see that, they can't see that. Sky Queen says Kim said she was hooked on the lifestyle, luxury, etc. Did Kim say that in the book that we just read, or did Kim say that somewhere else? I would imagine that being addicted to the lifestyle would be easy and wouldn't be a surprise. I don't think anybody wants to be abused. I think that's a pretty much across the board. We can all agree that no one wants to be abused. You betcha. You betcha. You betcha, right? You betcha. I think he would have run like hell if he had known how this was going to happen. PSA, being roofied is not your fault. No one should ever be roofied. The person, regardless of who they were, they roofied you. It's their fault, not you. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the term roofied, right, has come to mean exactly what we know it means. But for the record, it has been almost impossible to get that drug for a very, very long time. It really is no longer manufactured anywhere in the civilized world, right? And it's just about impossible to find. If you're finding it, they're very, very old and they've been sitting around forever in somebody's cabinet, because I promise you they're not making them. However, there's a buttload of other drugs that do the exact same thing, and they all get called roofies. What we're finding is probably a lot more of the gamma hydroxybutyric acid. That probably was the GHB was probably what was being used, but the term roofied just gets used to mean the same thing, I guess. Yeah, the I was when I was alive when the roofie thing was really becoming. They were really becoming popular, and a lot of people were partying. Yeah, they came and went pretty quickly. They really did. But settling in less than a week is amazing. You'd have to imagine those that settled from civil risk so quickly would have to come out in the criminal case as well. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Do you believe for a hot second that these people cutting these deals means that the FBI isn't going to see this stuff? Ain't no chance, right? The non-disclosure agreement means that they can't go to the press. They can't talk to people. The feds can still read that stuff. They'll get a subpoena for all of that, right? They'll read all of that stuff. And if there's crime in there, you go, I don't know, Tommy, you don't? Tell you what, take a look at this case. And what you're going to see is they took, in my humble opinion, okay, they took 2 lawsuits and chased down everything said in it and said, there we go. Here's your case. They took Little Rod's lawsuit and they chased down all the facts in that. And he made it easy because he had pictures and receipts and everything else. And then they did the same thing with Cassie, right? You don't think they're going to do the same thing with the 120 other lawsuits? Because they're gonna. And I don't think that they're just doing it for the purpose at this point of burying Sean Combs. Because I could imagine that this would be really easy, right? It's bigger than that. Oh, man. The Franklin MC, when GHB was really getting popular, it was one of the easiest things in the world. All right, Chris and Melinda, have a great day. It was one of the easiest things in the world to mix up. V-Bomb says, why won't the feds do this for Scientology? It's a great question. You know what? There is a protection of religion that really, really protects religion. And although most of us would not call that a religion, it is protected as if it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, people. You know what? Honestly, Britt, I was trying to remember this too. Forget the name of the lawyer that was on Surviving the Survivor with me, but she was amazing and broke down the NDA situation. I wish I could remember her name too. I know I have it written down. She was absolutely fantastic. Most of the guests on there really are. They really are. Caroline and Canada, we're going to let it slide this time. Yeah, it isn't a religion, and eventually, people that's going to find itself out. And I'll tell you what else: the cell phone's destroying that cult anyway, right? Because the days of being able to bring people in and hoodwink them, it makes it a whole lot more difficult when the whole world already knows what happens when you get to the operating Thetan third level of OT at OT3 when they tell you about the whole Xenu thing, right? Problem is, they've been telling everybody that's not real, that doesn't exist, and when you find out it does, this is one of those things that that cult is unraveling. I wish it would happen quicker, but that cult is unraveling. Sure, B, that's a beautiful thing to say. I appreciate that. You know something? This. I may leave this one up there. This is the good one to see right here. I was forgetting that these big names could still be criminally prosecuted. It would be really funny if someone paid out millions and then got outed anyway. You mean like somebody paying, I don't know, $30 million within, I don't know, 48 hours? Remember that? That's just what happened, right? Cassie's lawsuit. She came at him. He said, whoa, let's settle this thing. Here, take the money. right? Woo, we're good. And then the government went, not so fast. Everything in here is a crime. Yeah. No reason to think that won't happen again, right? For real. Hold on, people. Hey, Danette McClure. Good to see you. Meredith Lynn. How are you? Hope you're having a hell of a day. Yeah, these settlements, man. If anything, honestly, if anything, don't you think it just makes them want to look at it faster? Don't you think it just makes them want to? All right. I mean, if I were investigating this, I'd be saying, all right, who settled these things in 24 hours? Because they got something to worry about, man. Well, I'm gonna have to check that out, Manuel. That sounds interesting. People are sick of this shite, says Rory. And you know what? Boy, oh boy, people are. I think we're all getting a little sick of this. And I think we're all getting a little sick of seeing it get this far and then stop. Seeing it get this far and then stop. Moving and getting closer, like we're actually going to get something out of it, and then it all just goes to nothingness. Well, guess what? There are way too many people involved now. There are way too many names. This isn't just about him. This is about industries. This is about years. This is about literally the biggest, the longest running racketeering, hustle of all time, the entertainment industry. I think it's going to blow up, people. And what's crazy is the 325 of you or whatever that are listening now, and all of you that will listen on the replay crew and everything else, we're all getting a little into it, aren't we? We're all picking up a little bit of information on it, and we're getting to a point where, you know what? We're not going to take it. Seriously. Politicians got a real weird way of doing exactly what they think is going to get them elected. And if people like us start saying stuff like, if you don't clean this crap up, I swear to God, we're voting all of you out of office. That's the kind of crap they listen to. Nothing else, in fact. But that's the kind of crap they listen to. Bieber should have just kept singing on YouTube, right? Huh? And sadly, he wishes he had. He really does. You know, it was really a tough thing that happened to that kid. All right, people, that brings us to the top of the hour, and I'm going to be out of here. There may or may not be another boat tonight. Not exactly sure yet. We got to see what's going on, but I want to thank all of you for popping in. Really do appreciate you. It's about time the cat was back in the basket. I am the Admiral. This is Squirrel Nut Zipper, the cat in the basket, and we will see you on the next one. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Bye-bye.